Okay, so we are here to look at this song Queremos Fuego, which we're doing in Spanish service this weekend. We did it last month with a whole different group of musicians, and it's a really, really fun song to play. And so I'm going to show you how to play it, and I would encourage you to look up the YouTube, and you'll hear that basically these parts that we're going to play, which are mostly like arpeggio based, which you guys have all played some in Spanish service, and so you know that we use a lot of arpeggios to get that Spanish sound. And when you listen to the recording, you'll hear that it's primarily just this stuff and rhythm. So what are the two most likely chords to be in any Spanish song chord progression?
1 and 5.
Right. And what kind of one and what kind of five?
One minor dominant five.
Right. A one minor and a dominant five. So this song is in the key of A, and just real quick, watch this. Boom.
Wow.
So we're in A, so we have an A minor triad arpeggio, and we have a 5 major or 5/7 arpeggio, right? And that's really what this song is based on. We're going to start with the chorus. So I'm gonna show on guitar as well as on keyboard, but first I'll show on keyboard. And so here's what the chorus looks like, and every single note is laid out. But if you look at the 5, what are these notes? 5, 7, 2, 4, 5. That's an arpeggio of the 5/7 chord. Now, as a keyboard player, you happen to have 5 fingers, so you can just lay them out. And left hand, you also have 5 fingers, most of us anyway. So it's not that hard to play this in unison just through the arpeggio. Now, what makes it fun is the rhythm. Actually, Austin, your guitar is coming through surprisingly well, so why don't you go ahead and mute?
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, so the rhythm written on there, you can see the first 2 notes line up with the dots, right? And then the number 2 also lines up on the dot. But then we have the syncopation, which is the standard dotted eighth style syncopation that you get in most Latin music, but it's just pushed to the back half of the measure. See what I'm saying? Ba, ba, ba. That's the syncopation. I forgot to change the thing. Are y'all hearing the keyboard?
Kind of. It sounds like a, how do I say it? Groggy?
Okay, no problem. And also my little toggle switch is not showing at this point for me to change it to the other. All right, well,
I mean, I can hear it well enough.
okay, all right. All right, so we got, and then if you think about those first 3 notes, but do them as the first 2 beats as eighth notes instead of quarter notes, that makes sense. That's pretty simple rhythm, right? But now let's make it a little more complicated. Don't play the first one. Put a rest on 1. So we go ready, play 1. See what I'm saying? But it's still just a variation. The first measure is straight beats. 1, 2, 3. The second measure is 1 and 2 and 3. Okay? But they both go that same exact syncopation on the top. So 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 2 and 3, and.
You don't need to be hearing the piano, Leah. He's explaining what the rhythm is.
All right. Now, then we come up to the 1 minor, and what I'll do is I'll close this out in a second, and then I'll switch the audio where I can play it for you. You can hear it clearly. For the 1 minor chord, we're going to close, if you play keyboards, you're going to close your hand up into a regular home position on A minor. And look at the notes. You're just walking straight up the scale. It's just the minor scale. Now, of course, you can pull this up in Dropbox. And it's the same exact rhythm on the same exact fingers. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and swap this audio out. So here's what it sounds like played on the keyboard, just that first line. What do you think? Could you hear that pretty well? All right, brilliant. Then the second line starts out as an imitation of that, but then it has a little chord progression that it throws in. And if you look at it here, actually, let me do this. So it starts out exactly the same, but then instead of a 5/7, we go to a 6 flat and a 7 flat. But check it out. Arpeggio. Arpeggio. Root third fifth, root third fifth. It's honestly amazing how much this Latin music does triad arpeggios in order. It sounds so unique and interesting, but when you really analyze what is it, it's very simplistic. So those are just straight up the arpeggios. And then we come to the end, same exact deal, but just end on one. Don't repeat that. Okay, so once again, let me just play that for you, and then I'll grab the guitar play. So it goes like this. There you go. That's the whole thing. Super awesome, super fun. Now, on the slide, I called that the chorus, also the intro. When you go to the recording, they do this really long, elaborate intro with this non-tempo rubato stuff that we're not going to do at all. And then even when they come in with the part that sounds similar to this, the keyboard player is doing it a little different. And it sounds almost the same, but it's not. And so we're not going to try to learn this slightly off variation. We're just going to use this as the intro. Okay, played exactly this way every time. All right, let me show this to you on the guitar, where I can give you a couple of kind of pointers about it. Let me get a pick. All right. Oh, and I should switch my camera back. I forgot about that. Okay. Now, so in A minor, for me personally, I'm going to pretty much make this my home base, right? And think of my minor scale. But I want to go down to the 5. So I'm going to hit open E as my low root. So the top part of my arpeggio is here, is my 3rd and 5th. Okay, open 3rd, which is the number 7 of the scale, 5th, which is the number 2 of the scale. Okay, and hold on just a second. Yeah, and then, you know, the 4, 5 are right there. All right, let me switch this audio. So that would go like this, and it's on the bass because I play a 5 string and Jade, you play a 5 string. I wouldn't use the open, but you could, but I would just hit it right there, you know. So, but anyway, it goes. So my hand position is a fret different for each of these 2 chords. So I'm down here off the 4th fret for the 5 chord, and then I'm off the 5th fret for the 1 chord, which means my top notes, which by the way, I didn't point out, the top two notes of both of these licks are the same note, right? It's kind of interesting. But anyway, so I'm going to use different fingers, just the way I play it. You don't have to play it this way, but the way I play it, I'm going to use these two fingers for playing the 5 chord, but then I'll be using these two fingers when I'm playing the 1 chord for the top of that lick. So I'm going. Sorry. Now the arpeggio is going to come down here to the flat 6. And if you picture your major chord arpeggios, let me show it on the flat 7 first. Okay, that's a major arpeggio. So if I'm down here on the 1st fret, that means I've got the open string as my 3rd. So that's what that measure sounds like. 6 flat chord, 7 flat chord. So here's the whole thing. All right. That was with one wrong note for authenticity. Was still in the chord, so still sounds good. The chorus, man, I really wanted that bass to come through. Oh yeah, I think you can hear it with this other mode on. So the chorus has this, not the chorus, that's the chorus we just did, sorry. The verse is very basic in a sense, but it has this really cool bass line, which I guess that's basic too, right? But anyway, and how come I can't get there? Oh yeah, this is why. All right, let me get to the verse. So if I show you the verse, 1 minor for 2 bars, flat 6 and a flat 7, and then at the end we hit bump, 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 just 4 straight hits. Now that's easy enough, and hopefully you have your drop box. Let me go ahead and show you the bass line. Hopefully you can hear this. Whoops, my camera fell. I knocked it down. I'll have to fix it. All right. Can you hear that? Somewhat. All right. So it's based on a pentatonic. We've got the 1, flat 7, and then the 5 is down here, right? So we go. Okay, that's the pattern for the measure. And then we can go to the flat 6, which, I'll do it right here. I'm doing a kind of a simple version of it. I'm just using the half step. All right, but it doesn't actually do 2 measures. It goes to the flat 7. And the flat 7 is a whole step. The way you choose how far you go down is just what the scale has to offer, right? We're just using the notes that are in the key. So the whole thing is... And there we go. That's the verse. Probably on the aux for brass or some type of accent sound, you would not play in the verse until that right there. On guitar, you could double that bass line, or you could play chords and just kind of with the rhythm, you know. Really the same thing with the keyboard. You could even like play what could sound nice on a keyboard is just accentuating chords on the end of the sort of the last part of that pattern of the measure. Something like that. Okay, would sound pretty sweet. All right, now that's simple. Now the pre-chorus is very interesting. And I cannot get this to do like I want it to, but that's all right. I'll survive. So let me show it to you and explain it to you real quick. Well, first of all, actually, I'm going to play you something before I show it to you. So rhythmically, it's another kind of traditional, typical Spanish syncopation, but it's not the same one. It's like a dotted quarter to an eighth, which particularly as a bass player, we use it a lot, where you might do a pattern. This is not what we would do on this song, but if I was doing similar, I might do this. So it's 1, 2, and 3, but we're mixing the fifth with the root, or sometimes I might just choose to use the third instead, extra flavorful. So what this is going to mix that with the dotted eighth syncopation and using the entire arpeggio, and it would be a unison thing like the chorus, but it's just less busy than the chorus. But it's still the arpeggios and then pieces of arpeggios that are good for transitioning to the next chord. So if you analyze what those notes are with the chords that they're on, you'll see what I mean. So basically it's like this. So did you catch that rhythm? 1 and 2 and syncopation. So we land down on that root and then we don't play the downbeat. Bum, 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 bum. And just feel that downbeat without hitting it. Bum, 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 bum. And then pick up with that same sort of pattern. Bum, bum. Okay. So here's what it is again. So you see, I just moved up to the 1 minor chord, played a root position arpeggio again on the same rhythms. But now in the 4th bar, it's setting me up to go down to the flat 7, where again, though, I'm going to do the same thing. And then the second half of that is going to set me up to go up to the flat 3, a little bit of a circle of fifths type thing. At the end of the second line, you have a nice little walk down to get you back to 5. So it goes like this. Oh, I should have my keyboard camera on, except I knocked it down, so I have to set it back up. Hold on. See if it's positioned correctly. Pretty much, close enough. So we go. Now right here, there's no third in this chord, just the little change up. Instead of that, they'd skip the third and do the fifth twice. And then there's the walk down. And now instead of going to the flat 7, we go to a flat 6, to the 4 minor, then throw in an arpeggio. Okay, and put arpeggios on the 4 minor and the 5/7. So flat 6, 4 minor. And then really fun song to play. It's the kind of thing, once you start rolling with it, it's like you just don't want to stop playing it. You just want to keep playing it and playing it, playing it. Now there is a bridge included on the chord chart. When you listen to the recording, it'll kind of do like this sort of breakdowny section, and this trumpet player starts to do this flourishy stuff, and then they go into this bridge, but we do not do that. All right, we're not using that bridge section at all. I still left that bridge written on there, partly because I just figured, who knows, there may be some time that this song turns into a breakout and you're not going to necessarily keep playing those arpeggios, you know, if there's a 30-minute, 45-minute shout service, but you just follow the chord progression of the bridge, just the basic 5/7 to 1 minor chord progression. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay. You're muted, I think.
What was the bass line for the verse again?
Da do da do da 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 do da do
Got
da.
it. Got it.
So it's 1 flat 7 1, 5 flat 7 1. Da do da do da da. Yep.
Got it.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? All right. So I'm not planning to be there playing this with you guys Sunday. I'm counting on y'all to have the confidence to love playing it together. And I think you're going to. Aaliyah?
So you were saying whenever you meant keyboard, you meant piano, right? And whenever you said aux, you meant like auxiliary keyboard, correct?
Well, whenever I'm talking about how to play the chorus, it applies to both.
Yeah. But I don't use both hands, right? I just use my right hand.
I don't know. You tell me.
Right hand?
If you can use them both, it's awesome. So start learning to play it with both. When Sunday comes, if playing with one hand is better rhythm and your rhythm is a little shakier with two hands, only use one, but practice with both and start learning to do it.
I think you started teaching me it on piano, so I'm pretty used to doing it.
Right. Yeah. We introduced it a couple weeks ago. Yes. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Okay. Awesome. Anything else? All right.